It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is one of my favorite shows and my favorite comedy show. Not just because of its jokes, but also because of its characters, recurring story elements, and the moments when they get creative when they don't need to.
I'm not the goon. I don't want to be the goon. I want to be something better.
What you are? You're a goon.
I'm not the goddamn
You're
goon.
the goon, D. Who else is a goon? You're the
How
goon.
can I be a goon? I'm wearing a nightie.
You're a goon in a nightie.
The latter of which I'm going to talk about today, right now, on YouTube. There are plenty of good examples I can use, but the one I'm going to go with is the long take from the episode Charlie Work. The plot of this episode is rather simple. The bar is going to have a health inspection, and Charlie's got to get the gang to help him make sure the bar passes the health inspection. Fairly simple, and it's even shot like a regular episode. That is until 8 minutes and 35 seconds in, where it shifts into a long take segment. For those who don't know what a long take is, it's when a segment or shot is done without any cuts. Typically, long take sequences like the one in this episode are focusing on an element in a scene as it flows between action and action. For example, in the opening scene for Revenge of the Sith, there's a long take that focuses on Obi-Wan and Anakin in their fighter ships, and the camera follows them. In this episode, the camera focuses on Charlie Day's character, Charlie. So a camera follows Charlie a lot more than it probably would. What's so special? Well, half of the episode is a long take, and it's a very physical one. I'm going to do a breakdown of everything that happens in this scene. So Charlie flicks on the lights and gives the gang a few orders on what they need to do. Then he goes to deal with the delivery truck guy and sits him outside so he believes that the bar is actually a restaurant, so the scam won't go wrong. As he leads him outside, he picks up the bar stool and slams it down. After he sits down the delivery guy with his patio table, he goes back inside, picks up the bar stool, slams it down again, and meets with the gang outside to keep things moving, and then meets the health inspector. After a quick introduction, he takes her to inspect the men's restrooms, then he rushes to Dennis and throws the keys to him so he can take her car somewhere else so they can continue the scam they were going with. Then he passes a piece of raw steak to Dee so she can cook the steak so she can serve it to the delivery guy. Picks up the bar stool, slams it down, then he runs to Mac and tells him to count to 30 and then says something so they can trick the health inspector. Then he heads back to the men's restroom to see the health inspector. He picks up the bar stool, slams it down 2 times, meets with the health inspector in the men's restroom. Hear Mac say the thing to trick the health inspector. Then they leave the men's restroom and the health inspector goes into the women's restroom. Then Charlie tells Dennis to make sure the chickens and everything associated with the scam goes into the vents. Then Dee comes out with the burnt steak, then Frank comes in with the steak, and Charlie tells him to put them in the keg room. He picks up the bar stool, slams it down, then Charlie goes to check in on Dennis and Mac. Then he tells them to go to the keg room, then he can go to the next phase of the scam. Then he runs into Frank, who's painting his body black because he has no shirt. Then Charlie tells him to go down the keg room, wait for Dee, and keep painting. Then he moves the delivery guy to the bar so they can clean up the table in the alleyway so the health inspector won't see it. Then he brings the health inspector to the alleyway. Then he moves the delivery guy to the office. Then he tells Dennis to finish doing the job in the keg room. Then he tells Dee to make sure Frank's painted black, hands her a flute, and tells her to tell Frank to play G sharp. Then he meets the health inspector out in the alleyway, then he brings her to the bar, then he tells her about the drainage pipes so she can check them so the gang can move without her noticing. Then he intentionally causes a slight power outage so Matt can get out, then he brings her to the keg room, then he brings her to the carbon monoxide detector, then she presses it twice, hears it go off, then they leave and the camera quickly pans to Frank, fully painted black as Charlie and the health inspector walk up to the stairs, then Dee walks out the delivery guy, then Dennis quickly distracts the health inspector so the delivery guy can leave, then they walk outside as they wrap up, then Dennis climbs up the ladder to take down the fake sign as Mac drives up with her car, then Charlie hugs her as Mac passes him the keys, then he sneaks the keys into her pocket, then she leaves and Charlie enters the pub, and the long take ends. So yeah, there's a lot that happens in this sequence, and all this happens while Charlie is the focus of the scene. So while the other characters can take breaks during the sequence, Charlie Day can't and has to do all of this, and if a single theme went wrong, they had to do this whole take all over again. Now that's typically the standard for long takes, but the reason why I bring it up is because of why the long take exists. It's not just a case of, hey, look at this cool theme, but also represents Charlie's mindset during this moment, as he's running around too. I especially love the little details before and during the long take. For example, before the long take, Charlie goes down to the basement to check out the carbon monoxide detector. Dee keeps trying to talk to him, only for Charlie to keep asking her to be quiet, then he just says G sharp, and asks her to remove the battery and then move on to the next part. Which not only brings back Charlie's knowledge of tones of music, but it's also an important detail because Charlie would need to know what sound it makes so they can trick the health inspector. Also, the chair slammings aren't just done for the hell of it. Earlier, Charlie asked Dee to move a bad bar stool so they don't get cited for that, only for Dee to make a remark about how funny it is.
Hey, get the joke stool in the basement or I can't have it out.
What?
funny. It's hilarious.
It's not hilarious. It's just a stool with a nail sticking out of it.
Yeah, and when it pokes their butts, they scream because they just got a nail right in the butt. You don't understand comedy.
You don't understand comedy. That's not a joke. It's a lawsuit. Just put it in the basement,
Fine,
okay?
all right,
Get on
fine.
So Charlie keeps picking up the bar stool and slamming it down, so at the end of the episode, Dee sits on it and it breaks. It's sort of like a really fantastic cake. Yes, on the surface it's tasteful and joyful, but the more you dig in and look into the layers, you see that it's more than just a little tasty. It's exceptionally well baked. Oh, so fucking rich. I'm so sorry.